Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Happy Tuesday and welcome back to another episode of Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Najeh Wilkins, along with Craig Sayer. Got a jam-packed show for you guys. It'll be a lot of fun. We're going to do a recruiting roundup, essentially, and bring on a lot of recruiting experts from around the state. Greenberg will be in segment 2. Bama 247 to talk about the latest going on with Alabama. We'll have on Jeremy Johnson of On 3, talk about the latest going on with Georgia, some offers they sent out this past weekend. A guy's also training there from Alabama. So we'll talk to him. Shadarius Tudor of Cottage Hill Christian Academy from there. So we'll talk to him about that. Segment 3, we'll have my spring practice roundup, and we'll bring on Hayden for Hayden's high school hits, talk about the latest he's working on, including soccer and so much more. But we have a jam-packed fast break headline, so I'll go ahead and get us started with headline 1 for the show. Starting at the top, Cale High School hires Dan Sanso as the new boys head soccer coach. Via their Instagram, said Cale High School is excited to welcome Dan Sanso as our new head boys soccer coach. We look forward to a great season. Welcome to Longhorn Nation. Sanso has been a long-time defensive coordinator for the Cale Longhorns and will now pick up soccer for the program. They finished 6-10 last year, and he will now be the new head boys soccer coach. Craig, what's your reaction to this?
Yeah, very exciting. I feel like Cale has a lot of good soccer in the area. We saw what last year did, Pope, girls and boys side. I feel like that's a sport that's maybe been a little quiet for them, but they've been solid. It's just about winning that region. They're obviously going to be in there with Westminster and Cambridge, 2 outstanding programs. So best of luck to them and the Longhorns. Let's get to headline 2 real quick. The Golf State Championships are yesterday and today. Here's what to watch for. In Class 3A, the boys and girls golf programs are ending the season at Highland Country Club. The legendary golf course is designed by Donald Ross and is credited with designing the first 9 holes at the Highland course. On the boys' side of the championships, West Lawrence enters as the top-ranked team with Cherokee Bluff, North Hall, LaGrange, Calhoun, Richmond Academy, Southeast Bullock, Northwest Whitfield, Jefferson, and Harlem all in this top 10. This is Class 3A. For the girls in Class 3A, the teams to watch, Jefferson is the top ranked ahead of Northwest Whitfield. You got White County, North Hall, Southeast Bullock, Lafayette, Adairsville, Cherokee Bluff, Calhoun, and Heritage Catoosa also represented in the top 10.
All right, there you have it. All right, let's go to headline 3. Pike County girls soccer wins its first ever state championship. Great story on the back end, obviously, by Hayden Gilbert. Pike County's taking the 2A state championship, and the new rankings formula proved correct. They were questioned as number 1 seed, with many thinking teams like Columbus or Savannah Arts were more deserving. However, 38 playoff goals and 5 victories proved the doubters wrong. Pike County by far had its best season in recent memory, going 20-2, with the team's only 2 losses coming to top-ranked 5A schools, Alexander and McIntosh. The Pirates ended the season on an 11-game winning streak. In that time, they outscored their opponents 85-9, with 5 of those goals given up coming in the championship matchup. Overall, in the season, the team outscored its opponents 146-12, a staggering number that included 15 shutouts.
Yeah, and this is another example of really what we saw throughout the soccer season. We had Armucci on the show yesterday. This is a boys team that was talented last year, but they were closer to 500. Not many people thought they were going to win a state title this year. Their coach said the players did. That was the goal, but they break through. They win their first. A lot of first-time champions in soccer. It's going to make things a lot more interesting in these other classifications where I feel like this year the storyline was in the private division where you had like 4 defending champs. Now you have some new teams that have emerged. Very exciting. Big congrats to Pike County.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, our next headline, Landmark Christian quarterback dazzles in the spring game. A really cool story here. Skylar Hamilton, he had 3 touchdowns in the game, 11-yard touchdown as well. And obviously here showing the love for Score Atlanta. Thank you so much, obviously, to Skylar. But he was phenomenal in this game, absolutely lit up the defense against Clarkston. But what's so cool is he's a very underrated guy. Last year led them to the playoffs in a game where they had to have it. He had over 200 yards passing and over 100 yards on the ground, had 5 total touchdowns, over 500 yards of total offense to help them punch their ticket to the playoffs. Skylar's getting better and better. And what's so cool is he's very, very humble, knowing, and he kind of plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. That's what makes him different. His dad, a former Georgia Tech legend, Heisman Trophy runner-up, Joe Hamilton is his dad. And he commends him for just being instrumental in his life. Here is what he said per quote. my dad's been the most instrumental person in my football career, not only because of his coaching skills, but also characteristics that he's instilled in me. He's taught me to be humble, but also confident in my own game. And you see that when watching him play. And obviously, he's going to be one to watch in Landmark Christian in Division I this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting. And then just to see him have that big spring game, obviously the pressure's there with how outstanding his dad was, but he's obviously there mentoring him, helping him through this process, and just definitely a player to watch this year with Landmark Christian.
And last note on Skylar, he only practiced, I think it was 5 days. He missed the entire week, Craig, because of his track and field state championships. Team that ended up winning it all, obviously Landmark Christian did, but he ended up placing, obviously, in the events, the 4x100 and obviously the high jump. But he only got really, Craig, maybe at best 5 or 6 days of practice.
And then obviously he's got a big name with who his dad is, but where do you see his recruiting going from here, maybe in the summer leading up to the season?
Well, he got a lot of interest currently right now from UAB. Obviously, head coach Trent Dilfer, we know how great he was, obviously, and what he's accomplished in his career with the Baltimore Ravens. So they are recruiting him pretty hard. Kennesaw State's been another team that's been recruiting him pretty hard. But I think it's a player that's underrated. You could see more teams kind of chiming in, but those are the two teams to watch for.
Gotcha. All right, Najeh, I know you know a lot about this Gainesville program. I want you to walk us through this schedule.
All right, so here we go. I'm sure we have a graphic up, but Gainesville has announced their 2025 football schedule. So as you can see right here, they are going to open the season against Marietta, and the game to watch for me to see how good they are, a team that made it all the way to the state championship last year, was the Moody Blue Devils out of Alabama. They're coming here this year. Last year, obviously, Gainesville traveled to them. Then they're going to play Westlake. Cannon Robinson, obviously, their quarterback, is going to be one to watch for Westlake. Really good receivers as well. They will have that one at home. And then they're going to play Carrollton this year instead of in Carrollton. Carrollton will come, obviously, to Gainesville. So the big thing here, last year, they were building that stadium, Craig. A lot of the games are on the road. They host 4 games, obviously, at Gainesville at that new stadium. So that'll be something to watch. Lanier should be a better team this upcoming year when they get into the region schedule. Then they play Johns Creek, followed by Second-Year, and then they're going to play Milton on the road. That's going to be a game to watch. Could likely decide who is the region champion there. Milton is another team that is loaded with talent, but very young, similar, obviously, to Gainesville. Chattahoochee will be, obviously, another team to watch, and then they're going to conclude with Roswell at home. And we know about, obviously, Craig, how good of a team Roswell usually is. A new head coach at the helm, obviously, with Chris Pruitt going to Dalton, but Roswell does still have some playmakers. And last year, they gave us a thriller.
Yeah, and, I mean, the thing about Gainesville the last few years, they've played such a difficult schedule, and then their region last year is obviously very tough, putting Milton in there. Milton, I don't think they've lost a region game since like 2017. That's going to be the big storyline, but I feel like Gainesville could be the best or contender to do that. They're going to go to hostile territory. I think that's going to be the key matchup. I think they're ready for that challenge. Probably a game they've been circling all offseason.
For sure. All right, Craig, you got the next one.
All right, DeKalb School athletes excel in academics and athletics. As graduation nears for DeKalb County's district, 20 athletes are ending their athletic and academic careers with top honors as they exit their high school eras. 11 of the 20 athletes are at the top of their graduating classes as valedictorians, and 9 more are salutatorians. 15 of the 20 DeKalb High School 15 of the 20 high schools offering sports. 5 of the schools' 2 top honorees are athletic participations. So this is a great story that highlights a lot of the valedictorians this year are not only great athletes on the field, but really talented multi-sport athletes. You had Addison Cook. She's the salutatorian, and she's a golfer that is from Southwest DeKalb. You have Ray and Moreland. Lakeside's Cooper Ruckert is the valedictorian, also a lacrosse player. Dunwoody's valedictorian, Anna Siegel. She's cross country. You had Wendell Rogers with tennis. 2 volleyball players from McNair, Chloe Taverne and Yuko Zhang. They are also volleyball players. It's just a great job by Mark Brock getting this list together and honoring these outstanding student athletes.
All right, headline 7, Buford is going to officially open the season against Milton. And we're going to give you guys a first look, obviously, at the new stadium. Looks like a college stadium to me. Say what you want. I mean, obviously not D1, but D3, D2, it definitely could pass for that.
Yeah, and so you see there's a 2-story field house. That's the big press box. There's a bunch of suites in there. They each hold about 20 seats. There's, I think, 1,200 cushioned stadium back seats. It seats 10,000 total. It's going to be the biggest display board in the entire country. And not only that, it's two-sided. So you see where the Wolf is on that scoreboard facing us. There's an entire display that faces the parking lot. There's tailgate areas, and then the coolest thing I saw besides just not only the biggest scoreboard, but it's two-sided. Within the stadium and throughout, they're going to be able to televise the game. So if you're going to get a snack or whatever, you're going to be able to hear and watch the game. It's pretty incredible. $62 million, and to make it even more exciting, they will be debuting this incredible venue against Milton in their home opener.
And obviously, this came to my attention too. So if we do televise the game there this upcoming year, right, the play-by-play and obviously the color commentary will not be cold, Craig. They will feel pretty good, obviously, in those suites and obviously that press box, so they'll be able to do their thing.
Yeah, climate controlled, all of it. I mean, it's very nice, and it's an example of what's possible. $62 million. It took them about 2 years. So they built this pretty fast, and Buford's been doing it with their big arena. That wasn't too long ago, probably like 8 years ago at this point. Beautiful venue. This one's just going to take it to the next level, I feel like, and it should be a lot of fun.
And then as we wrap up, Craig, just in comparison, we always see Texas kind of put on that map in terms of just what kind of facilities they have, obviously the field house, obviously the crowd and everything. How do you think that just compares maybe to Texas and all the great facilities they have with their high schools?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, some of those schools in Texas, I think they have like 5,000 students in the building. They're just, the student body's a little bigger. I think 10,000 is a really good size with this. It's going to be packed throughout most of it, but I feel like they still have the ability to add even more. It's accommodating them. I'm just excited. You look at some of the other big stadiums. I look at McEacher, and I feel like they're cutting edge with their press box. What they do at Cantrell Stadium, this is gonna rival any stadium in the country, though.
100%. Well, guys, it's going to do it for this segment. Coming up, don't miss it. We got an exciting recruiting update with Bama 247 analyst Brett Greenberg.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Joining us is Hayden Gilbert. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Brett Greenberg of Bama 247. What's going on, my guy?
How you guys doing?
Doing
that
good.
Looks good. Tuned in a little bit, heard that Buford talk. I like that point about the climate controlled for the suite. So hopefully the recruiting guys get a suite for their own as well.
Of course, man. So
You were all around the state, Brett. I mean, you've seen obviously some great players, some great programs. Just what's your overall thoughts, obviously, of the spring? What stop did you maybe enjoy the most? And just, what's just your latest just in terms of, obviously Gainesville, North Carolina? What did you think of that game?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to keep up with you. I mean, everybody who's listening to this show and follows you you're all over the state, so trying to just keep up with Najeh where he's at, trying to go after him. But yeah, kicked off things, I think it was April 29th at Gainesville, wrapped up spring at Gainesville at North Gwinnett for a spring scrimmage like Najeh talked to. But it's kind of, I cover Alabama. This job's a little bit easy in the state of Georgia, just with the way Alabama is recruiting this Peach State, and certainly in this 2026 class, it's a guy we've talked about for a long time that I went and saw at Sprayberry's, Jordan Edmonds, who continues to maintain that number one cornerback spot, continues to kind of get more and more comfortable with his commitment. Georgia's going to continue to take swings as him, but like you said, you brought up Gainesville High School, and kind of the big news out of there is 5-star number one linebacker Xavier Griffin decommitting from USC. I said on my site for a long time, and yourself, Craig, I think you've seen this before. We've seen guys out of Georgia commit to USC early and maybe not get back to USC many times. And USC has kind of a rule where if you're committed, they don't want you to take visits elsewhere. Talking to Xavier, talking to his mother, they wanted to continue to take trips. And as I've said for a long time, Alabama seems to be a school to watch. He'll take official visits to Alabama, Texas, Florida State, Ohio State, and a decision probably will come soon after that. So that's one of the top uncommitted prospects across the country in the state. Alabama's going after him. Georgia's still involved as well. And a guy I got my first look at is Jamarian Matthews, who committed to Alabama. Moved to Gainesville a day later to be part of that Red Elephants program. Craig talked about earlier in the show, just kind of signs to come in Georgia. I talked to Jamarian. It's, hey, I want to come and be great. I want to develop the best I can in the state, be alongside my good friend Xavier Griffin as well. So that's been cool to see. He talked about the transition just from Sparkman, Alabama to Gainesville. He's in Xavier Griffin's ear day after day trying to get him to go to Alabama. So a lot of positive buzz, a lot of Alabama buzz over these last couple of weeks on the road for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of, obviously, you brought me to my next point actually about Griffin. I do think, and I'll say this on air, I do think he probably ends up at Alabama. Again, I could be wrong. I don't have any intel, but being he's from that state, he came up here, obviously, to play at Gainesville. His mom, his family's from there. He's always wanted to play with Jamarian. Jamarian followed him. He's in his ear every day. It just seems like a match made in heaven for me. But just what's just your thoughts of potentially Griffin maybe coming back home to Alabama, and also just that player comparison we just saw, too, with Jahad Campbell. Campbell was a beast, obviously, with Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, it's funny that Jahad Campbell, I've said it on Twitter, I've said it on my site as well, that Jahad Campbell first-round pick, I think is going to work wonders for this class, not only for a guy like Xavier Griffin, who, I mean, you and I have talked about anybody in this industry, like the physical traits, maturation to him just jumps out. He's fast. He's sideline to sideline. Another guy as well in Georgia that gets compared to Jahad Campbell as well from the Alabama staff is Braden Rouse, who I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit longer, but a little bit further down the road. But Xavier Griffin, I mean, it sounds like low hanging fruit, but he checks off every box. He looks more and more athletic when you see him. I went to that first practice. Like I said, him and Jamarian are lined up on opposite sides of the defense, and they're going after the quarterback. They had a tackle for loss together against North Gwinnett. That Gainesville defense that is going to have a lot of talent on it. They've got a guy like Jeremiah Proctor, 2027 on the back end at 6'3", could be longer than that. So there's a lot of excitement about those two, and there's certainly has been a lot of Alabama buzz for a long time, even before his commitment last spring, and that is only going to continue to grow as he takes his official visit next month.
And Brett, I want to ask you, you were talking about just how many of these Gainesville guys are looking at Alabama, being sought out by them. Gainesville is a big matchup against Moody High School. I feel like that's one of the big Georgia-Alabama rivalries we're seeing. Coach Niblett came from Hoover in Alabama. Just how big do you think that non-region game is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be huge. Like you said, it's the state of Alabama and it's the state versus state of Georgia going against each other. I remember when I was at Score Atlanta, it was actually Hoover was the first non-Georgia team to be in the Corky Count. It was Coach Niblett, so it's kind of funny just talking to you here full circle. But I think it's going to be a big time matchup. Like you said, there's a lot of guys on both sides that are going D1. They're going, some Georgia's looking at them, Auburn, Alabama. So it's going to be kind of a top of the top matchup. But I would be remiss if we're talking about matchup already. That Buford Gainesville game, that Gainesville game is going to be one to watch as well.
And then Brett, I just wanted to ask you to talk about another player, Kamari Brooks, edge rusher from North Oconee. I believe you got to look at him this spring. Just where is he in his recruitment? I know that he's high on Georgia and Alabama. What does that recruitment look like?
Yeah, I kind of asked him point blank. I'm like, hey, I'm listening. I'm hearing it's between you and it's between Georgia and Alabama. And he said, yeah, it is. It's between Alabama and Georgia. He's got a hard decision coming. He joked about how him and his mother kind of talk about every day, like, hey, can you make a decision now? And the answer he gave me was no. I will say, though, this is kind of, this is one in Georgia's backyard. He's less than 20 minutes away. As your viewers know, North Oconee is very, very close to Athens and campus. He's been there probably over 100 times. Like, I joke about that, but I legitimately think he might have been there throughout his recruitment over 100 times. He was there at the scavenger hunt for an unofficial visit last weekend. He'll get back for an official visit. He'll get to Alabama for an official visit. But that's one that's certainly going down between Alabama and Georgia. And on the Alabama side of it, I think, what I've said on my side as well, I think you've got to give this staff a lot of flowers for what it's continued to do, and just for a guy that's in Georgia's backyard, for a guy that I know that's Georgia's top target at the linebacker position. They haven't wrapped things up yet over there. So there's a lot to like about Alabama's continued recruitment with him, and certainly Christian Robinson, the way he's been recruiting Kamari Brooks and Xavier Griffin. And for some of the older heads out there, Christian Robinson is the outside linebackers coach at Alabama who actually played at Greater Atlanta Christian. So he knows the Georgia area pretty well.
And I gotta ask you, obviously about Braden Rouse. I'm sure you've seen the photo. I don't know if we have it or not, but just reminds me, just jump man, the boy's up to something. But obviously, he's an elite athlete. We've seen them both, obviously, Brett. The trajectory that he's just been on, I think it's phenomenal. I remember me and you were at Corky Kell last year. Kid wasn't ranked. He's still growing into his body. But now he's like one of the best ones, obviously, in the country. But just what's your overall thoughts on that, and obviously him and Bama?
Yeah, I know exactly what picture you're talking about. For people that haven't seen it yet, he posted a picture of him. Seemed like he was 20 feet in the air going after the quarterback in a scrimmage, and I'm sure he wasn't able to touch the quarterback, and I'm sure that made him very angry. But that was kind of the point to post that. And China, like, that post in general just showed his athleticism as a whole. This kid, the way these college staffs talk about him, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Tennessee, Texas. These top guys are going after him. They know the athleticism he brings. They talk about, the word you bring up is freak. And I know I keep bringing it back to Xavier Griffin, but it's still that state and this amount of talent this state of Georgia produces. Those are two guys that Alabama is going heavily after, and other top programs are as well.
Now, I think we got time for one more, so I'm going to give you a two-sided question on this one, okay? So one, I want to ask you just who else are they kind of just after, whether it's the state of Georgia or in general? And for you, Brett, seeing this team, knowing what they're kind of going into, obviously, with the summer workouts again, and then fall camp, what is the missing piece for Bama to get back to where they really want to be?
Yeah, so right now, Alabama's got 5 commitments. I think they're ranked 40th in the country, which I continue to say, there's plenty of time until December comes. Top guys, again, I sound like a broken record, but Xavier Griffin is the top of the list. He's been at the top of the list for a very, very long time. Braden Rouse is at the top of the list as well. Jaira Edwards out of St. Francis Academy in Maryland, that powerhouse, he'll be back for an official visit. I think I was doing a state-by-state breakdown. I believe there's 12 to 13 total guys from the state of Georgia set to take official visits. So there's going to be a lot to look forward to, and it's going to get busy up on the recruiting trail starting May 30th with, I think Chris Booker will be there, who's at a Headfield charter. He's committed to Alabama. He's going to continue to have guys I know you and I have talked about as well, but he's going to continue to have teams really go after him. Georgia's one I'm continuing to hear, Florida as well. Alabama kind of had that early eval with him. That continues to be holding a lot of weight. We'll see how long that continues to hold. But, yeah, you look at this Alabama team, and, again, I feel like I'm giving kind of cop-out answers, but you look at it as a whole in the roster, it's who's going to be the quarterback. The wide receiver group looks good. The offensive line group, for the most part, looks good if they stay healthy. The running back group is deep. You and I have joked about this secondary at Alabama that looks might look better than some of the Nick Saban ones. I might get in a lot of trouble for saying that, but bear with me there. The linebacker crew returns a bunch of guys. So I think it just, I mean, with any program, it starts then with the quarterback, and certainly is the case for Alabama going into the fall.
For sure. My guy, that's all the time we have, man. Always good to see you, man. Keep doing all the great work you're doing, man, and I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. All right, coming up after the break, guys, we'll have my spring practice roundup, talk about some of the stops that I visited and my intel.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. Obviously, still have Hayden on the cast. So I'm going to throw it to Hayden and obviously Craig. I know they have a lot of questions for me about my spring practice tour, me going all around the state. So I'm going to throw it to them for the questions they may have for me.
So I want to start out with South Paulding.
Yes, sir.
You got out there to see them. Mm-hmm. We expect them to kind of take a step forward last year. They were an okay team last year. They're really talented. What did you see while you were out there?
So I got to see about 45 minutes of their scrimmage before they kind of rested their starters. But Joakim Gouda is the kind of the name to know. Young, obviously 2027 class, linebacker, versatile, very hard hitting. He really took some steps forward, Hayden, just in terms of what he's been able to accomplish. That weight training, that nutrition program. What we had, obviously, Coach Allen on the show that he talked about is very live and real. And he's taking some steps forward. And then obviously you look at defensively, C.J. Mathis is another one, hard-hitting safety. Coach even talked about sometimes he has to kind of reel him off his guys because he goes so hard. So with having that both of those guys kind of being your pillars of your defense, they should be able to make some plays defensively. And then offensively, I think the buck starts and stops with obviously the quarterback, QB1, and that's obviously Cade Wigginton. Can he take that next step forward? Had a really good, productive winter going into the spring, played at Elite 11, took some steps forward. He's ready. Stanford was in there recruiting him as well, Hayden. So he's a guy that I want to see take a step forward. And then obviously you got to go to the offensive line. Tyler Chiyukum, and obviously look at Jay Sanker. They're going to be the pillars on the offensive line. Chiyukum has absolutely blown up. He's going to be a guy to know.
And then let's go to Paulding County. This is another team in Paulding County. We've been covering North Paulding, East Paulding, but you got to see, Paulding County. You see them top right. What did you see with their team?
Yeah, so I know the spring game, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. I know they didn't look that good against, obviously, North Paulding, but this is a team that's well coached. Faith is something that they obviously like to kind of hang their hat on. Gave a lot of speeches. I was really impressed with just their offensive line, how they're removing people. Tyree Jemison has completely filled out guys. He shed weight, came down from 330 to obviously 310. He is now 6'5", nearly reaching 6'6", Hayden. So he's absolutely grown a lot. And then you obviously look at KJ Kepler. He's going to be a guy to know, 6'4", 6'5", quarterback that has a very strong arm, pretty good accuracy as well. And then obviously Riley Jeffries at receiver position. Nobody knows about him. Underrated guy, but continuously just made plays over that defense, highlight real type catches, breaking tackles. He looked good. And then Andre G, I don't want to butcher your name, man. I know that's not your last name. It's Giapanos. I just don't want to mess up your last name, man. So Andre G was doing his thing, running back.
And then what about New Manchester? Where are you setting the expectations for that program?
So they're interesting. They're going to be in that same, obviously, region with Rome in there. South Paulding is in there as well. They'll be another, really talented team, I think, again this year. Really good offensive line. Jacob De Jesus is going to be one to watch in terms of just a playmaker for them. But defensively, obviously, they got big number 2 in there. Can they get enough stops to make some noise?
And then I wanted to ask you about Douglas County. That's a team that should be one of the top teams in the state. They've made 2 straight semifinals appearances. Last year in the top classification, pushed Grayson to the edge.
They did, with no quarterback.
I feel like they've taken a step forward at quarterback with Michael Johnson. What did they look like with that? They've had some really young players. They've had some really good players. What does that team look like?
For them, everyone is going to predicate themselves on stopping Aaron Gregory and Devin Carter, right? But the key is going to be their other guys that absolutely balled out in the spring game. That's DeMarcus Lindley, and you look at Rakeith Kelly. No one's going to talk about them, but his one-cut ability, obviously for Lindley, and then Kelly getting open and breaking tackles over just the seams of the defense, those are going to kind of be the keys for them. And I agree with you, Hayden. I think Johnson is an upgrade at the position. He made one throw I have on my Twitter page where it nearly should have been picked off, but he was able to fit the ball through that tight window to get it right to Devin Carter, who ends up scoring a touchdown. So he's going to be one to watch. Defensively, they're stout again. Jordan Breeze, Carter, really good linebackers that float to the ball, and some pretty good safety. So they should be right back in that championship conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then I want to ask you about Carver Columbus, a team that absolutely dominated last year, winning the state title. They returned pretty much everyone, but what do you see just with them as a favorite to repeat?
Now, Craig, I'm going to jog your memory a little bit. You remember we used to do the show? We had like a podcast, like set-up format, and we had this one guy that always used to tune in and give us comments. You remember Jimmy?
Yes, Jimmy Smith.
Yeah, man. So Jimmy, he was right, Craig. I mean, like he says, they run like an NFL caliber team. Yo, I finally got a chance to see them in person. Them boys is different. Like, they just, the way they fly to the ball, like, everyone's going to go, oh, it's Tristan Gibbons. No, it's not just Tristan Gibbons, the 4-star. Like, they got Antavius Watts. They have, obviously, number 9 that was making plays at the defensive back row. They are loaded. And to me, Carver plays is a 2A school. They play like a 6A school. That's how good they are. Now, obviously, they have a new quarterback this year. Some things happen, obviously, with the former quarterback, Matthew Munger. We wish him well. Hopefully, gets back to where he needs to be. And then KJ Miles is going to be the key offensively for them this year. But Carver Jimmy was right.
Yeah.
Carver's different. Jimmy was right.
Last year, what we saw with them, they would score with like 2-play drives, just so explosive. But then defensively, it just felt like they would dare teams to try to pass on them. So talented in the secondary, guys flying around. Who really stood out just individually for Carver Columbus? Everyone knows how good they are, but who's the leader or player to watch this year?
It's definitely Tristan, but the guy that's underrated to me that, he has some offers but doesn't get enough love is Antavius. That kid is at the safety spot. I seen him a couple plays, right? They throw a little bubble screen out to the outside. Now, DC got some fast guys. he's flowing to the ball and completely stopping Devin Carter in his tracks. Like, Devin got speed too. Devin is going to Auburn for a reason. So when you have that versatility and your DBs fly to the ball, I mean, like, those two for me, obviously defensively and obviously KJ Miles offensively. I mean, those guys can do it all.
Yeah, they certainly were the most athletic teams we've seen. So you went to probably, 20 schools, probably tops. We didn't mention you got Stockbridge, Northside, Warner Robins. In your opinion, just who stood out just with how they ran practice, a team that was maybe on the edge last year that you feel could break through?
Good question, Craig. That's on edge that could break through out of who I saw. I'm going to surprise y'all. I'm going to say Lovejoy. Now, I didn't see their spring practice, but I seen their spring game. And Jonesboro is going to be good again. They will. But the fact that they was running that ball and going up and down the field, well, what they have, obviously, with Tim, Chad Fairchild, Caleb Carson, they're going to surprise some folks in 4A. I'm not saying they're going to win a ring, because you got to think about Creekside, who we didn't even mention. But they're going to be a team, Lovejoy's in the quarterfinals. Lovejoy made it. That's the team to kind of watch for, in my humble opinion. And Northside Warner Robins is my sleeper. Look, they in there with TCC, Thomas County Central. They got dollars everywhere. 17 guys with Division I offers. Loaded. HOCO, loaded. They're going to have another good team. But Northside Warner Robins, don't let them sneak into the playoffs. Another team that can make some noise.
For sure. Hayden, you got anything?
I think that's it.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, we're going to conclude this segment. Coming up after the break, we have Jeremy Johnson of On 3 On to talk about the Bulldogs.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union control.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We're not going to waste no more time. Go ahead and bring on the great Jeremy Johnson of On 3. Jeremy, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Always good to see you, man. Obviously, I know you've been staying busy. I think you didn't pumped out about, 9, 10 articles from over the weekend?
Yeah, man. It's I've been in front of this laptop for so long, I don't even know what day it is, to be honest. It's all kind of running together. I don't even know. I thought it still was the weekend. You just gave me breaking news, so.
100%, man. But I want to ask you, obviously, scavenger hunt was huge for you guys. There's a lot to really take away. Obviously, we're going to talk about Georgia guys, but just what's your thoughts? I talked to him, too. Obviously, Teddy Gerard, he got an offer from Georgia, kind of seen that one coming. There's a little meat on the bone there, Jeremy. Obviously got some family ties there. Georgia's a high school for him already. Just what's your thoughts on him? And we've seen him a lot in the sevens, obviously 7-on-7 tournament. Obviously North Cobb Christian now at North Cobb. What's just your thoughts on Georgia offering him?
Man, that's a big offer for him. Obviously he's an in-state guy, but he has those family connections with Georgia. I know he's been, at least Georgia's had their eye on him for a while. So them finally offering kind of, puts things in motions for him to be able to consider them. He did kind of, in our interview, he kind of mentioned that, hey, not just going to jump at Georgia just because they offered, you think he's going to go through the process and, look at his options. I mean, 'cause he's got a lot of them. Obviously, Ohio State offered probably a couple hours right after Georgia. So, this is going to be a big time recruitment. And, obviously, he's a very talented football player. So I'm sure he'll have more options to come his way in the next couple of months.
For sure. Now, this is an out-of-state player, obviously, but I do want to get your take. Obviously, Steve Wolflong of 1-3 reported this. How real is the flip of, obviously, Shadarius Tootle, who is committed to Auburn currently? What's just your thoughts really quick on that and how real of a flip that is?
It's not done. I mean, I don't think it's anywhere close to being done. I mean, I'm sure he came in and had a good visit this weekend at Georgia. He kind of surprised everyone by saying, "Hey, Georgia's my number one team on my board," which is, it's kind of unique for a guy committed to another school. So, I think he had a really good visit, and I think Georgia is slowly kind of creeping into a good position there. But I would not say there's anything close to being done. And, obviously there's a lot of work to be done. He'll take some visits this summer. He's got to go back to Auburn. He's going to go to Baylor. There's some other schools that I'm sure will get involved as well that, haven't really come to light yet. But definitely a positive step toward that happening. I do think the energy that you're seeing get reported around Georgia is real. But it's nowhere close to being, the end of his recruitment for sure.
All right, one more question before I throw it obviously to the guys. What's your thoughts on Jawel Kambe? We've seen him obviously in person at Kell for the spring practice. Just what's your thoughts? I think he has an OV or recently took an OV. Just what's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I don't think a lot of people have really, grasped what he is yet, just because this is his first year at Kell. He was a big-time player at Harrison last year. Just watching his film, man, first of all, just seeing him in person, he's a bigger guy than I think people realize he is. He's put together really well. As far as his lower half, and as far as his upper, I mean, he looks like a college football player already. I think he's really good as far as playing that center field position as a safety. He's a ball hawk. I think we use that term a lot, and it's overused. But this guy truly can track the football like a center fielder, especially when it's in the air. If you throw the football in the air and he's anywhere in the vicinity, he's gonna go get it. It's a very rare talent for a guy. I mean, it's one of those things you want to go be able to take the football away. So this is one of those guys that can go do that for you. So I think Kell will have a big addition on their hand with him. And Georgia's obviously recruiting him really hard now. They went out and watched him, and they were like, "Oh, okay, this is a little different than what we expected." Obviously, hadn't been able to see him a lot. So definitely a name to kind of get to know when it comes to Georgia.
And Jeremy, I wanted to talk about Tyler Atkinson this upcoming season. He's still uncommitted. Obviously, he has all these opportunities. I feel like he's the best player in our state heading into this year. Do you see him making a decision before the season starts, or what do you think his timeline is?
Yeah, I think I think you'll see him probably commit, toward the end of the summer, maybe July, August, early, before his senior season gets going. I know he's a guy that loves to focus on football, and all the conversations with college coaches and all the interviews and people popping up at his practices. I know that's overwhelming for a guy. I mean, he's done a really good job because that's been his reality for the last 3 years. I mean, Tyler Atkinson isn't a guy that we've just discovered this year, but I think it'll be, a July, August type of deal. And I know he'll take these official visits in June, and we'll kind of know where he's going to go after that. Definitely a couple big programs after Ohio State, Georgia, Auburn, Oregon. Some of these programs are, these are the elites after one of the elite players in this state.
And then, Jeremy, I wanted to ask you about Craig Dandridge. He's really blown up over the past 6 months or so. Really elite player. I know you got to see him at his spring game. What's his recruitment looking like right now?
Yeah, I mean, he's something special to watch as a fan of football. I was just like, oh my goodness, this dude is really, really good, really, really good. Obviously Georgia's really heavy on him. Clemson's been, a program that has a lot of buzz. Georgia Tech was in home with them last night. I know Florida's wide receiver coach was in attendance at his spring game, so their program is kind of sniffing around a little bit. So definitely think Georgia and Clemson are the two that I'm hearing kind of the most about, that I kind of read the most about, and kind of when you talk to them, it's kind of the program that those are the three. I'll throw Florida in there as well. Those are the kind of the three that are really standing out right now. I know he's a big priority at Georgia, so we'll see what happens. He's got an OV scheduled for, I think, June 20th to Georgia. And, I think he'll probably be done with his recruitment probably around the beginning of July is probably when he'll be making a decision.
And then I know you got to see Valdosta early at their spring game. A player that I really like that I think is really underrated that just got Georgia offers, Corey Howard. Long defensive end prospect. What's he like as a player, and how real is that Georgia offer?
He's one of those that you get off the bus and you just you're just like, oh wait, who is that over there? That guy looks different than all of the other high school football players. He has some work to do as far as being a finished product and being what he will be in 3 years from now. I mean, he's a big, long guy. It transferred into Valdosta like midway through last year, so he's reaped the benefits of being in that program and their weight room program over there. And no Coach Hill, values that part of the game, being in the weight room. So he's developed very well over the last year, and I think Georgia's going to be really intriguing for him and for his recruitment, because I think he's camping on June 1st, so we'll kind of see what that means for him moving forward. So definitely a prospect for people around the Southeast to get to know, just because of his upside. His 6'5", 6'6" guy. Those type of body styles are very few and far in between. So big time player that's about to be a national name.
And then, Jeremy, I just want to ask you a little bit on just the national scale. Obviously, you look at Georgia, top 12 class, according to obviously 247. I mean, obviously headlined by Zach Ford. Look at Jared Curtis. But I do want to pick your brain a little bit, just some of these recent commitments, right? The Jordan Smiths, we know how good he is. Obviously, I got a chance to see him, very impressive. Graham Houston, what's just your thoughts on some of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about Jordan Smith, man. I think this is a guy, he's a quiet personality, so he doesn't get talked about a ton. And I think we don't really realize how good this guy is as a prospect. I mean, I'm not even sure he's played his best football yet. That's where I'm at with him right now. I mean, you're talking about a 6'1", 6'2", 185-pound guy that can run 4.4, 4.5. Plays safety in high school. I mean, he's even slid down and plays some corner. So at 6'2", I mean, he can do anything in the secondary you want him to do. He's physical. He's businesslike, fast, and he's very explosive. I mean, he's got tape of him returning kicks. Like, that's when you see DBs doing that, it's like, all right, this dude has some juice to him. So that's a player that I think in Georgia hit a home run in landing, especially this early in this process. Graham Houston's a guy at Buford that's been a stalwart there. I mean, you don't start at Buford unless you can play football. That is what that is. And this dude's been there playing for 2 years now. This will be his third year. So he's a big physical kid, athletic as well. I think he'll probably move inside at Georgia, but he has played tackle for Buford. I like his tenacity and the way he plays. He likes to finish, but he also doesn't get too overzealous and aggressive trying to finish. He kind of, when he beats you, he kind of can beat you and, kind of move you out of the play. But he don't necessarily get penalties for, trying to throw guys down and holding and all those types of things. That's a really underrated trait for an offensive lineman to me.
For sure. Well, Jeremy, that's all the time we have. Always a pleasure to see you, my guy. You do great work. Obviously, I know you did your spring practice tour, man. Try to get some Z's, my man.
But yeah, I'm definitely about to. That's coming here over this weekend for sure.
You and me both, brother.
It was good to see you, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Anytime, brother. All right, we'll catch you in the next one, Jeremy. Coming up after the break, we will talk to Hayden about his high school hits. Has some good articles on ScoreTL.com, and he's going to have coming up the 2028 class. So we'll get a sneak peek at that. All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. So now we have on Hayden just to talk a little bit about his article. I think it was recently published on ScoreTL.com, but he's highlighting these 2028. So here is his list. Let's pick Hayden's brain. He's doing 100 of the top 2028 players to watch this season. He's going through the full gamut. He did quarterbacks and obviously running backs last week. This week he has receivers. So give us some intel, Hayden. Who are some guys to know on his list?
So the two guys that I'm really high on, Kevin Hughes Jr. and Seven Rashad. It's really nice. Buford for years has not developed wide receivers. They developed really good athletes, but most of them play wide receiver but are actually DBs. They're starting to develop these true wide receivers. Kevin Hughes is very much really a slot wide receiver. 6 foot, 170. He can play out wide in high school, but he's a really developed route runner for his age. Like everything you want to see in a high-end wide receiver, he has. And it's one of those things, if he doesn't round his routes, his footwork's amazing. It's everything you want to see in a wide receiver. Then Seven Rashad is that big true X wide receiver, 6'5", 175. And when you look at him, he reminds me a lot of the Travis Smiths, the C.J. Wileys of the world, where this guy's not just basically an underweight tight end playing wide receiver. He is a true wide receiver that's just giant.
For sure. Now, I'm going to bring you on here. Obviously, Craig, get your take. But my two names I really like off this list, and you did a great job explaining. I like those names too. Hayden with Kevin and obviously Seven. But for me, it definitely has to be Kearis Miller. That guy is different breed. Now, he could be a tight end on the next level. You know, we'll see how he shapes out. But to be a freshman and already dominating, you know, obviously his play, you know, 7-on-7, that's going to be a name to know. And I think a kid that will probably pop for Carrollton. They have a whole bunch of playmakers. Look at Ryan Mosley, but he's going to probably be that underrated guy that makes a lot of noise this year. And then the next one for me, I mean, he balled in our Corky Kell 7-on-7 tournament. Obviously, we'll have those dates coming out here pretty soon. But Cruz Marion of Stockbridge, I mean, we know about Zion Robinson, but Cruz is another one that is a stud player at the wide receiver spot that is very fast. He had a viral play in our 7-on-7 last year where he just skied over a guy. I mean, mind you guys, he was an 8th grader and absolutely just skied over a guy that was a varsity starter. I mean, that kid right there just has that it factor, just different breed.
No, I think Ethan aside, Cruz Marion, there's a handful of guys, Mekhi Scott Anderson, are these true slot wide receivers that are just really speedy and a lot of fun to watch. Everything they bring to the game is something that's really hard, especially at the high school level, to stop. When you have these guys that are running crisp routes, that are able to stop and go and are so agile, even if they're not one of these guys that's running like a 4.4, they're in that 4.5 range, they're so dangerous. Another player that I really like is Andrew Cochran from Blessed Trinity. 6'1", runs a laser time 4.36. Not these kids that are saying that I run a 4.3 and having no proof to it. Laser timed, real, has a lot of work to do. Reminds me a lot of Brady Marchese out of Art of Carsville that's not committed to Georgia.
Certainly, and then Andrew's also a baseball player. He's got great hand-eye coordination, has that speed. But I want to go back to like the slot. You're talking about in high school. I mean, I feel like we used to see a team would have like 2 great receivers, but now it's like you have that specialist at the slot position, these quick, speedy guys. We've really seen a lot of them. Teams like Buford, traditionally, they like to run the ball. BT, same sort of thing. But do you feel like out of these 12 names, there are a lot of these true slot guys that are starting to blow up?
I feel like there are. There's these guys that are under 6 foot. They claim to be 6 foot. They're probably 5'11". They're 5'10". When you look at them, I think mainly it's because that's at this age they've developed what they need to develop up to this point, and college is already looking at them. Where some of these bigger guys haven't grown into their bodies yet and are still kind of a bit uncoordinated in their 6'2" or 6'3" body because they just had a 3 or 4 inch growth spurt. Where a lot of these smaller guys are already developed and they don't have to relearn playing the position. They're already there.
And then one of the bigger guys looks like Kayvon Thomas from Lowndes. You have him at 6'2", 185. Lots of great teams played in that region. Where do you think he'll stand out this upcoming season still as an underclassman? I think him and Rao, the other Lowndes wide receiver, are going to be. They didn't get much playing time last year, if any. But especially Thomas, he's that X wide receiver guy. He needs to work on some of his more skill-based things, his route running. But he's a really good athlete. He's a great jump ball wide receiver. He already has a place on this team if they want to use him, and he can develop just a little more. Then who out of this list do you see kind of emerging as that top receiver or the highest rated in that 2028 class when it's said and done?
I really like Seven Rashad. You can't teach size, and the skill set that he has is just, we've seen those guys be very successful in the state of Georgia, and last year he just transferred to Buford from Mountain View. He was really successful last year. Now he's going to have elite quarterback play. I think he's going to have every chance to shine and be that high 4-star, 5-star kind of guy.
Absolutely. We have some other names on here real quick. You mentioned Zion Robinson from Stockbridge. What about Karis Miller from Carrollton?
He's a guy that's going to play out of slot. He's a tight end / wide receiver, 6'2", 200 pounds. It's all going to just depend on how he develops and how his body develops.
100%, guys. Well, that's going to do it, obviously, for this segment. We'll have more coming up tomorrow, so you know where to come. Same place, same time, 12 to 1 p.m. right here on the Peachtree Sports Network. We'll see you then.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting gogcso.com for more information. Gwinnett County, together we can make a difference.